Welcome, I'm Yvonne and here's what happened this week. Taiwan's stock exchange took a break over the Lunar New Year, but has come back strong. Leslie Liao has more.
In the first day of trading in the Year of the Dragon, Taiwan's stock exchange has come out swinging. The TAIEX, the index which tracks the performance of Taiwan Stock Exchange, hit a record 18,725 points just 1 minute into trading. But that benchmark was short-lived as trading continued. But the TAIEX still closed at 18,644 points, which is a gain of 3% and a record close. Now, earlier we spoke with economist Gary Ng, who says that Taiwan's stock exchange is playing catch-up with global tech trends after it suspended trading over the Lunar New Year holiday.
I do think that this boom may not be so related to the holiday itself. It's really about when Taiwan has the Lunar New Year holiday. It happened that the US has seen a very strong boom in terms of the tech sector, which affect Taiwan.
One of the biggest performing stocks today is that of Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing companies. That stock opened up nearly 10%, briefly bringing the company's market cap to a record high of $572 billion US. Now, TSMC is one of Taiwan's most closely monitored companies because of the pivotal role it plays in the global economy. Gary says that typically when TSMC does well, Taiwan does well.
If TSMC does well, then you're talking about the whole supply chain, and all these players that supply goods to the TSMC will also perform well as well. So we can pretty much say that it's pretty much a TSMC-driven market in Taiwan.
And Gary added that with Taiwan's market so closely tied to global tech trends, recent developments in areas like AI spells gains for Taiwan stock trade as a whole. Kama Shi and Leslie Liao in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Hundreds of Taiwanese tourists were left stranded in Vietnam over the Lunar New Year holidays after a breakdown in communications with their travel agency. Reese Ayres reports.
Hundreds of tourists stranded in Vietnam, desperate for information and justice. Members of a tour group from Taiwan, they were expecting a smooth and relaxing Lunar New Year trip to the Vietnamese island of Phu Quoc, but were instead given an ultimatum on the second day of their tour. Pay $720 each, or you're on your own. The tour was organised by Taiwanese operator We Love Tour, in cooperation with Vietnamese travel agency Winner, and it was Winner who was asking travellers to pay, because they say the Taiwanese tour company didn't send them the money. Almost 300 people joined the tour group. Taiwan's Tourism Administration says that over 100 of them paid the money demanded by the Vietnamese travel agency. Taiwan's We Love Tour says miscommunication about payment dates caused the issue.
经过了澄清，才知道说彼此的在认知上或是沟通上有一些差异点啊。在当地的那些旅客，那代表年代旅游跟各位说声抱歉。
We Love Tour says they've struck a deal with Winner to pay all fees by the end of February, a solution that's too little, too late for many of the tourists.
必须要把我们4个月前就已经交给他的全额81万多，必须要退还给我们。
Remaining members of the failed tour are expected to fly back to Taiwan over the coming days. And We Love Tour says refunds will be arranged.
我们会在开工完，我们就会跟客人去做退刷的，甚至赔偿的一个处置啊。
Taiwan's Tourism Administration says it will investigate We Love Tour to determine if they violated travel agency regulations and ensure the tourists make it back safely, if not disgruntled, about their disastrous Lunar New Year vacation. Ryan Wu and Reese Ayres for TaiwanPlus.
Indonesia has wrapped up its presidential election, and the country's current defense minister is likely winner. That's raising concerns about the country's democratic values, Louis Watt reports.
Claiming victory in Indonesia's presidential election, Defense Minister Prabowo Subianto. He's a former army general linked to past human rights abuses. But during the campaign, he shed that image for one that resonated with young voters, attracting a huge following on social media with videos of him dancing. Nearly half of Indonesian voters are under 40.
Kemenangan ini harus menjadi kemenangan untuk seluruh rakyat Indonesia.
Despite his victory speech, election officials have still not declared a winner. And Prabowo's two opponents, Anies Baswedan and Ganjar Pranowo, have not conceded defeat, with official results set to be announced by March the 20th.
Proses penghitungan belum selesai. Saat ini penghitungan partai dan lain-lain terus dijalankan. Teruskan fungsi ini.
But according to unofficial counts, Prabowo has 57 to 59% of votes. He needs 50% to win outright, or else the top two candidates go to a second round. It's Prabowo's third attempt at the presidency. Many of his supporters are too young to remember him as a feared army general in the 1990s at a time of dictatorship, and only see the image he now projects as a grandfatherly figure.
That is actually the most concerning issue at the moment for the Indonesian elections, about whether Indonesia, how will Indonesia maintain its democratic value if Prabowo win the elections. Of course, his past human rights abuse records would influence this view.
Prabowo has had the tacit support of the popular outgoing president, Joko Widodo, and has said he would follow Widodo's foreign policy agenda. The outgoing president has maintained good relations with both the United States and China. He has yet to be officially declared the winner, but Prabowo's supporters are already celebrating, despite wider concerns that a victory by a man once banned from entering the United States for 2 decades because of his human rights record could put at risk Indonesia's hard-fought-for democracy. Klein Wong and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un supervised the test of a new surface-to-air missile and vowed to take a more aggressive stance in disputed waters, the country's state TV reported on Thursday. It comes a day after South Korea's military detected the North firing multiple cruise missiles off its eastern port of Wonsan. Kim has overseen a flurry of weapons tests since 2022 and has recently upped his rhetoric against the South, declaring it Pyongyang's #1 enemy. Kim also accused South Korea of violating its territorial waters. For more on the security situation on the Korean Peninsula, our reporter Jaime Ocon spoke to Matthew Sussex, a security analyst from the Griffith Asia Institute in Sydney, Australia.
What do you make of the increased frequency in weapons testing? Is this more for show, or is there a logic to this?
Oh, look, I think it's probably a bit of both, in that now seems to be a very opportune time to create havoc in the international system. And, North Korea has been no stranger to that for many, many years. But I do think that it senses that, there is potential to, be able to rattle its sabers and show off its capabilities, just to give the United States and South Korea and Taiwan and Japan something else to worry about. And I think to an extent that this is also informed a bit by, the closer relationship between Russia and North Korea, which, probably sees as being able to act with a bit more impunity than previously.
We've seen rhetoric heat up. Recently, we saw North Korea label South Korea as its biggest enemy. How significant is that in the sense of how partners are going to need to adapt to manage these threats?
Yeah, look, that's a fantastic question. And to be honest, the answer could be either. In the past, we've seen the DPRK ramp up the rhetoric as a prelude to, in fact, signaling something that it wants from the West, and is potentially, prepared to make concessions. On the other hand, of course, it could be that there is a sense that if you harden your rhetoric towards the United States, towards South Korea, and its friends and partners, then you are, maximizing your visibility within the area, within the region, as a country that can do harm.
Recently, we've seen not just traditional military threats like missiles, but also new threats like cyber attacks, satellites, even drones being tested from North Korea. Would you say that this is making it more difficult for the United States and its allies and its partners to counter these threats?
North Korea is becoming a much more sophisticated multi-domain threat, whether that's, evolving past ransomware to actually being, quite capable of, extracting sensitive information. On the pointier end of it, I think it's a real worry that EPRK is modernising its military quite significantly, and also its ability to strike at range. And I think perhaps the concern is going to be not just that the EPRK evolves a new suite of longer-range nuclear-capable missiles, but that it starts moving towards some kind of triad, survivable triad through submarines, which we know it's interested in putting nuclear weapons on, land-based warheads and potentially aerial ones as well. And I think that would be a really, really dangerous thing for the region and extremely hard for the United States to deter.
That was our reporter Jaime Ocon speaking to Matthew Sussex, a security analyst from the Griffith Asia Institute in Sydney, Australia. Greece has become the world's first Orthodox Christian country to legalize same-sex marriage. Members of the LGBTQ+ community took to the streets of Athens to celebrate the landmark bill. The law passed by 176 votes to 76, despite vocal opposition from the country's influential Orthodox Church. The new law also lets same-sex couples adopt, but stops short of allowing them to use surrogacy or assisted reproduction. NASA is helping Taiwan and 4 other countries in the region tackle air pollution. Its most recent mission involved a flyover through some of Taiwan's best air and some of its worst. John Van Trieste has this story.
All systems go. NASA has sent this DC-8 aircraft to East Asia to study where the region's air pollution comes from and how to make the air in this part of the world better. Today's mission, Taiwan. The crew has spent the day flying zigzags across the island, taking samples at different altitudes, comparing the fresh air of Taiwan's sparsely populated east coast with the often smoggy skies of the industrial west coast. It's the first of what the team hopes will be several flights over Taiwan, testing the air on different days in different weather, all as the project moves between the Philippines, South Korea, Malaysia, and Thailand.
Taiwan has a very advanced air quality, atmospheric chemistry community, but what they don't have is a flying laboratory. There's, the DC-8 is a unique thing. It's the largest flying laboratory in the world. And so we have strong connections with the scientists in Taiwan. And so they invited us to collaborate with them. And we said we'd already picked our 4 cities, but they suggested that perhaps we just overfly them a few times. And we said we'd love to try and do that.
One of the focuses of this flyover was the Kaohsiung-Pingtung area in the south of the country. This area has some of Taiwan's worst air quality. The government has its own program to study the issue, but the NASA data is helping them to form a 3D map of what pollutants are where, and whether they come from primary human sources like cars or form later from chemical reactions in the atmosphere.
The local scientists helped us design our flight pattern. They have 2 projects going on right now, and so this is why we're studying the southern half of the island. They said we have 2 field campaigns going on. If you fly at these altitudes, at these locations, you'll be sampling directly upwind from where we're monitoring.
Onboard labs have fast-working, high-tech equipment that is already giving the scientists some interesting data.
So based on just this one day of data, we can clearly see that Taiwan is closer to Seoul chemically than it is to Manila, as far as the type of pollution we found.
This kind of comparison is helping build a pollution map of the whole region. Many Asian cities suffer from poor air quality, but while emissions in each may be a problem, it looks like pollution may also move around, crossing borders and even open sea. Finding out where it's coming from is what this mission is all about. Justin Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Here's What Happened. Before we go, check out these highlights from the Rio Carnival in Brazil. I'm Yvonne Young. Take care, and I'll see you next time.